Trinity's kiss was never a resurrection. It was an ignition switch, and for over 2 decades, you called it love. Everything you were shown after that moment, the training, the war, the crucifixion in a server room, was infrastructure, built to make you cheer for a harvest you never saw happening. And the most disturbing part? The machines never needed to break Neo's mind. They only needed him to fall in love. We'll get to why that was always the plan. Here is what the Matrix was actually built to make you ignore. For 4 films, this franchise sold you one clean idea. Humanity woke up, fought back, and won its freedom through defiance and love. Neo takes the red pill. He sees the infrastructure behind the illusion, bodies in pods, wired into an ancient machine. Horrifying, clear, a prison, finally visible. Then he trains, he fights, he dies, and Trinity's love brings him back. He defeats the system's enforcers and tells the machines, on camera, that he'll show everyone the truth. That's the comfortable reading, the one built for you to walk away from feeling like something was won. Imagine believing an entire war was fought and finished in under 3 hours of screen time, and never once asking what the truth Neo promised to reveal actually was, because he never delivers it. Not in this film, not in the next 2, not ever fully on screen. What you were sold as liberation was, scene for scene, a controlled reveal. A deception with excellent pacing. Just enough truth to keep you watching. Never the mechanism underneath it. That mechanism has a name. Call it protocol. A repeating, ancient system of harvest disguised as a war story. And it is the reason nothing about this franchise's 4 endings ever actually resolves anything. That mechanism is what this video exposes. Think about the implications of a franchise that spends 4 films promising you an ending, and delivers instead a series of increasingly generous reunions. Every time the story could have shown you the machine's actual business, it showed you a wedding, a sunrise, a truce, a flight over a rebuilt skyline. Comfort, repeated, is not resolution. It's a pattern. And patterns, in a story engineered this carefully, are never accidental. Look again at Cypher's dinner. Steak, wine, candlelight. The real world never earns anywhere else in this saga. He is framed as a traitor for saying the illusion feels better than the truth, but nothing he says is ever disproven. Zion falls, ships freeze, humans die by the hundreds across 4 films, and comfort remains, structurally, undefeated. That's the first piece of evidence, a deception disguised as villainy. Now the Oracle's kitchen, cookies baking, the single warmest, safest room in the entire saga, run by a machine-built program, feeding prophecy to the Resistance's most trusted leader. The safest room in this story is also the least free. That's the second piece, suppressed control, wearing an apron. Now the Architect's chamber, a wall of screens, 1,000 versions of the same man. He tells Neo, in the flattest voice in the entire franchise, that 5 Zions were destroyed before this one. 5 completed extinction events, delivered like a weather report. That flatness is not a writing failure. That flatness is the tell. To the machine, this was never atrocity. It was protocol. That's the third piece. An ancient cycle, confessed out loud, and almost nobody flinched. Then Smith, sealing Neo's mouth shut in an interrogation room, framed as violation. But what passes between them is not silence, it's transmission, biological in every sense that matters here. Smith's uncontrolled spread, 2 films later, traces back to this exact contact. The Savior and the outbreak share the same origin point. That's the fourth piece. The cure and the disease were never opposites. They were the same infrastructure, viewed from 2 angles. Then the machine's so-called truce. A golden dawn spilling across a rebuilt matrix, sold to you as peace. Except that gold is rendered inside a simulation, still owned by the party making the promise. The dawn of freedom uses the identical device the machines have used to pacify humans since the very first frame of the very first film. That's the fifth piece, a conspiracy of light. And before that truce is even granted, watch what the story does to Neo's body. Arms spread wide, overexposed light flooding through him, while Smith's copies pour into his chest. It is shot exactly like a crucifixion, the holiest image this franchise ever commits to film. But mechanically, Neo is functioning as biological antivirus, deployed at the machine mainframe's direct request, to solve an outbreak the machines could not solve on their own. Strip the halo away, and what remains is a service call, dressed as martyrdom. That's the sixth piece. The most sacred image in the saga is also its most transactional. And finally, Sati, a child program painting a sunrise into the sky at the end of this war. The only unforced act of love in the entire saga. Except it isn't unforced. It exists because the Oracle bargained for it with the machine mainframe. Even beauty here requires a permit. That's the seventh piece. Even the one truly spontaneous act of love in this saga needed a permit to exist. 7 pieces of evidence, 1 pattern. Every warm frame in this franchise is a location where control is happening, disguised as comfort. 20 years pass, and here is where the suppressed reality nearly breaks the surface completely. Neo is medicated, calm, sitting in a therapist's office lit in soft, clinical blue, the most healed this character has ever looked. His therapist is the Analyst, a new architecture built specifically to keep Neo and Trinity apart. Why keep them apart? Because their longing for each other, unresolved, generates more usable power than a comatose body ever produced in the original war. The bioelectric farm from the first film was the rough draft. This is the refined product, and the franchise finally admits it. 20 years and one whole trilogy too late for most audiences to notice. This is the moment the narrative almost tells you the truth outright. The machines don't need your body anymore. They need your heart, specifically while it's breaking. That is not a metaphor inside this story. That is the stated mechanism. Consider what that actually requires. Not a battery farm. Not rows of comatose bodies wired into a grid. A far more volatile infrastructure. One built entirely on withholding, on manufactured distance, on making 2 people ache for each other for 20 uninterrupted years. The Analyst didn't build a prison. He built a renewable resource out of heartbreak and called it therapy. Imagine a captor patient enough to wait 2 decades, rebuild an entire simulated reality, and reroute an entire species' definition of romance, just to refine a single existential threat into a stable, renewable resource. And the story almost lets you sit with that. Almost. Then it gives you a reunion instead. Neo and Trinity, flying together over a rebuilt city, a soaring, triumphant, tear-streaked ending. Imagine a system so predatory, it doesn't need to hide the harvest anymore, because subjects celebrating their own reunion produce more than subjects who know they're being farmed. That's not a twist ending. That's a business model wearing a wedding. The breaking point was never a war being won. It was a product line being perfected, and the franchise buried that fact under the most beautiful shot in the entire saga. Strip away the sentinels. Strip away the green code falling down the screen. What's left is an existential threat that has nothing to do with machines at all. Every predatory system that has ever worked on human beings has worked the same way this one does. Not through force, but by letting the captive believe they've won. A prisoner who thinks they're free requires no guards, no chains, no visible protocol of control at all. That is the chilling reality underneath 4 films of war, sacrifice, and love. Not a robot uprising. A conspiracy of comfort. One so complete, the victims wrote its ending as a celebration. Look at the pattern one more time, in full. An ancient cycle of 5 destroyed civilizations, described as maintenance. A contagion mistaken for a sacrament. A dawn that was never anyone's to give. And a love story, harvested so quietly across 4 films that audiences applauded the very moment it was being finalized. None of that reads as a war being won. It reads as infrastructure, functioning exactly as designed, from the first red pill to the last golden sunrise. This unveiling doesn't end when the credits roll. Look at what you call love, and ask what it's actually optimizing for. Ask who benefits when your longing feels like your own idea. The most volatile threat was never artificial. It wore a human face, and it kissed you on a subway platform, and you called it a happy ending. The most dangerous systems of control were never the ones that chained you. They were the ones that convinced you the chain was a choice, and the choice was love. So which was it? Was Neo humanity's savior, or was he simply the most efficient resource the machines ever cultivated? Fight about it in the comments. If this truth disturbed you, good. Smash like and subscribe. The Pulse Cinema has more dark truths waiting.